Welcome back for another amazing Schiller tip. This week I have the pleasure to show you one of my latest rigged models from my short stereo movie, and I'll be porting this robot girl over to Blender 279. I am using Softimage 2014 and I tried to export it with the Crate Alembic 1.1, but that format is not readable by Blender 279, so instead I'll be exporting it as an FBX file. Once it's done exporting, we fire up Blender. Wait a minute, that interface looks familiar. Let's see if it behaves the same. Go to File, Import FBX. We have a scale issue with the scene. Shift A to create an empty, equivalent to a null on Softimage. Rename it by right-clicking on it, name it Global Scale. Then I am going to select everything I want to nest inside that empty, and finally I select the empty itself. Then roll your mouse to the viewport and press Ctrl P to parent it, nesting everything inside the empty. Select Keep Offsets. Now go to the Transforms icon and then select Scale. Scale it appropriately. Press N, Ctrl click over Transform tab. Click and drag from X to Z without releasing the mouse button. This will ensure you can transform all three values at the same time. With the middle mouse rolling, I can zoom, and middle mouse press, I can pan. With the right mouse, I can rotate around the view. To rotate the camera and orient it, I press R followed by the letter Z. I can rotate constrained to the axis. I need to look through the camera, so I press 0 on the numpad. Then I press Ctrl Alt Q to get a quad view of what I am doing. Now I want to simulate smoke. Press Shift A to create a box and scale it pressing S. This is a reference for how much we want the smoke to cover the character. Next, I created a grid with Shift A. Transform it. And then go over to the Object menu and select Quick Effects, Quick Smoke Effect. With the mouse over your viewport, press Alt-A to watch the animation play, or hit the play button on the timeline. The smoke simulation starts at frame 1. As you can see, smoke is rising out of the grid. Let's create a wind force to interact with the smoke. Shift A and select Wind. I change the transform coordinates to View. Select the cube, and on the Dynamics field, on the Domain tab, let's change some parameters to better define your smoke. Play with the force parameters in the Dynamics property. Now we will select the object to be a collider for the smoke. Go to the Dynamic Properties again and select Smoke. Then you mark the tap collision static. So the smoke will need to collide. Let's change some parameters for the density and vorticity. You can see how the smoke reacts to the obstacle. Press F12 to see a render view on what is going to be rendered. Go back to your view by pressing Escape. You will come back to your view. Whenever smoke simulates, you're going to need to catch it. How do I do that? I recommend you to visit Blender's user manual to check out some other cool parameters you'll need when working with smoke. For example, dissolve in 9 frames. Let's tweak the density to 1, vorticity to 4, and the resolution to 128. You can clearly see the smoke is much better looking. Let's create another light so it will create some kind of shadow over the smoke to make it look interesting. Press R on your keyboard, followed by the letter C, X, or Y to lock rotation. C is up on Blender, don't forget. Let's select the cube. We want to check out the color of the smoke, so I select the emitter and there you can change the color. Let's catch the simulation so that we may render any frame at any given time. Check out where the simulation starts and end frames are. When you press bake, Blender will create a cache folder on the same directory than the project. You must be at frame 1 and have saved your project for the cache to work. Notice on the animation bar an underlying gray line. If you press F12, you will see a progress bar on the upper part of the render. We need a transparent background to compose it. Go into Film tab. By pushing Ctrl, you will contract all other tabs. Go to the Film tab and then choose Transparent. We can see the smoke again with transparent background. Looking pretty awesome! You can play with parameters to get all sorts of effects with the smoke. In my case, I'll use this one for the composition with light affecting the smoke, and it's much better than the other simulation. Well, that was a pretty quick demo of what's coming for Blender theme a la Softimage. I'm writing the documentation so you will feel right at home when using this theme on Blender. It's a pretty daunting job to tweak Blender's commands here and there, but I think the 3D community will definitely love how the interaction in this theme will help you harvest the power of Blender. This has been another Chiller Tips episode with a short taste of what's to come. Subscribe for next week's episode and leave your comments below. Thank you!